Oh man, people have been asking for this for months, and here it is. The Motorhome 440, ready for some budget bolt-ons, including Thermoquad. That carburetor sucks.
Freiberger, I'm super happy because it's 440 Mopar time.
Oh man, I know this is gonna be great. But I feel like I got to explain why this episode is very much tied into my Roadkill show and actually the whole motor trendy world as a whole.
Let's hear it.
So dating back to the early days of Roadkill, my favorite episode of all time is the one where Finnegan and I built the 68 Dodge Charger called the General Mayhem. And when we did that, we took a Class A motorhome and tore a 440 big block out of it and put it in the Charger, and that just started the lore. And that's why fans ask me all the time about what's happening with the Motorhome 440? How great is the Motorhome 440? And so the follow-up to that engine is you and I hopped it up and put it in the crop duster. Actually, Finnegan was there too. That was another episode of Roadkill, but you and I hopped it up a little bit afterwards, and it ran like 12s.
Right.
And then we put some great cylinder heads on it, and we dyno tested it here, and it made 440 horsepower.
Pretty good.
This is not actually that engine. That original Motorhome 440 is sitting at Dulcich's place ready for the full treatment, which we've never got around to. But then we had an opportunity to own this particular 440, which is Motorhome Fresh. This came out of the Winnebago that was in Dirt Every Day, where Fred and Dave took it, pulled this out of it, put our LS7 in it, and then went and did donuts and dropped it over onto its side.
And the best part was it was free.
It was great. You went and picked it up.
That's right.
So taking it from there, this is basically the same soul of the General Mayhem. It's a bone stock Motorhome 440. We're gonna hop it up, but Dulcich, how come this isn't a grease pit?
Oh man, I just had to spiff it up, Freiberger, and you couldn't bring this thing the way it looked.
Oh, you're Steve Dulcich.
Yeah.
I know.
Plus, I mean, I had to do a couple of little things to it before it was dyno ready. I mean, it had the truck oil pan on it, so I put the passenger car 6-quart pan on it. The heads had to come off because I had machined the guide, so I have enough room for a high lift cam without the retainers hitting the guide. While I was at it, I put in Comp 911 springs because I'm gonna put a bigger cam in here a little later on, and we need more spring to do that. Other than that though, you're looking at an authentic bone stock Motorhome 440.
Which means what?
It means...
Tell me a compression ratio,
Well,
Dulcich.
here's the thing, okay? Are you ready for this?
I'm listening.
At TDC, the pistons are 155 thousandths in the hole, which
man, that
means
just speaks performance.
Oh, that's 7.5 to 1. So after I put the heads on with the composition gasket instead of the factory steel shim, 7.4. So well, what's a tenth of a point between friends, right?
Right.
Up top, we've got stock iron intake and, of course, the glorious Thermoquad.
Naturally.
Oh, look, you're even wearing the Thermoquad colors.
Oh, it's a glorious carburetor. How could you not?
Now for dyno hookup, okay, I've got the MSD distributor, I've got the Mazir pump.
We're gonna run some TTI headers on it.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, this is pretty much
Bone stock.
what you're gonna start with. I will say this though, I took this engine apart and the thing was like brand spanking new. There was almost no bore wear whatsoever. There was no sludge. I bet you this thing probably did 10,000 miles in the RV before those guys had their fun with it.
So you can virtually assure me that we're not gonna make Brule rub his head by bringing in another junkyard Mopar that's the worst engine he's ever tested? This is gonna be pretty good?
It'll be the lowest compression Mopar engine or any engine tested probably on the Westech dyno.
Okay, we're gonna do this right now. Give me a power number.
In stock form,
Yep.
I think they were rated at 195, and I'll give it 220.
You think this is gonna make 220?
Oh, yeah.
I give it 310.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow, confidence.
All right. Well,
Boom.
we're gonna see what the bone stock 440 does before we throw some speed parts at it and show you the hop-ups that you want. So this is the kind of test that always makes Brule super happy.
Why is that?
Because we bring in a
Yay.
used motor.
Well, see, maybe had I been there for the first rollover of the motorhome or something, I'd be a little more excited about it, but this is just old Mopar to me now.
Well, it's not greasy though. He
I
cleaned
know,
it all
no,
up.
it
That's-
really is not. It
that
looks
was
like
all for your...
Looks like a fresh absolutely wonderful engine. I'm thrilled.
The thing about these motorhome 440s is guys are chasing the legend and the dream of the muscle car 440. And they end up getting the truck 440 because that's all they can find.
7.5 to 1.
And they have no compression ratio in them. So
yeah, but
you're going to feel cheated and disappointed when you get that truck 440 with no compression ratio.
You know what they also don't have?
What?
The ability to put a standard transmission in them.
Well,
because they don't have a crank
It's
drilled
not
for
drilled
a
in
pilot
the back. We
bushing.
ran
Yeah.
into that with some installation issues on the dynos.
Well,
That's
here's the
another
thing. In 1975 and later, you could not get a 440 with the 4-speed in a passenger car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there, and the cast cranks weren't drilled as a result.
Kind of like a Cadillac.
Yeah. Fire it up. Let's get the baseline. We're going to show everybody what it's like if you pull motorhome 440. What kind of power do you get? Bone stock. This is it.
That was a perfect bend on the secondary air door.
Man, the fuel curve looks pretty good. Air-fuel ratio is actually right where it wants to be, 13 to 1 to about 12.5. So here's our numbers for our stock 440. Actually, it's not pathetic. It made 452.8 pound-feet of torque at 3,200 RPM, and then yawned its way to 319.5 horsepower at 4,300 RPM. The torque and horsepower don't even cross.
Oh, no, they don't.
It's all done before 5,200.
Yeah. So what ignition timing does it like?
It's got 35 in it.
Oh, put more in.
Ooh. Shall I?
Yeah, go give it 38 for sure. Okay, we bumped this thing up to 39 degrees of timing one time and it liked it, so you just put it at 41?
41.
All right, and this is probably gonna be our number, so we're gonna fire it up again. The thing about these really low compression engines is, well, I don't wanna guess. I'm gonna say it wants more timing than usual, but let's find out.
Be good this time.
Okay, there we go. It improved a little bit with the extra timing. We got 41 degrees in it now. It made 327.7 horsepower at 4,400 RPM, and the torque peak was 457.8 at 3,100. And actually, that's not embarrassing. I mean, I can see taking that out, plopping it in a car, and it's a burnout machine. I mean, look at all the torque it makes.
I know, that's what I was going to tell you. And on the street, it's torque that you feel every time.
It's not humiliating.
That's what people always tell you, though,
Yeah,
if their engines make no horsepower.
I know.
No, the only thing that really
It's the
matters is
torque.
torque, yeah.
That's the kind of torque most decent 383 small blocks make.
Right, at a much lower RPM.
Oh yeah, at a much lower RPM.
Yeah.
That's truck motor.
We're about to change the RPM range though.
I hope so.
All right, so go tell everyone what we're about to change up.
Okay. Okay, no big surprise, our RV 440 is no powerhouse. And here's our table of hot rod parts. You might notice that it's not overflowing. And the reason is you're not going to toss just thousands of dollars worth of parts on your dirt cheap RV engine. I'm gonna start with the heart of the matter, and that's the camshaft. Now, this is a comp thumper grind. It's kind of made to be a radical idle, kind of a showboat cam, because it's on a 107-degree lobe separation angle. I actually think that's gonna help crutch the low compression ratio. It's 227, 241 at 50 with 486, 473 lift. So, to drive the cam, I've got this inexpensive Summit timing set, but what's nice about it is it's got a 9-position keyway, and that allows me to degree the cam in where I want it. I actually put it in at 101 degrees. I really think that's gonna help the cylinder pressure and make this thing run a lot better. The intake manifold, proven Edelbrock Performer RPM. The long runners, again, are gonna help with low compression and the mild spec of the engine. And I'm gonna top that with one of my favorite carburetors, a Holley 750 XP. Now we're gonna go into the dyno, bolt all this stuff on, and see the difference it makes.
I love the 440 with the dry manifold so that you don't have to
you know, deal with water while you're changing the intake.
Yeah. So we're using the Comp Thumper cam. Now, the Comp cams actually came out with this cam just to give you a really badass cruise night sound. It gives you a really choppy idle and stuff like that, which a lot of guys like, but that's not the reason I chose it. I chose it because of the specs. Now, this thing has a 107-degree lobe separation angle, and that tight lobe separation angle is going to give me way more torque, especially in the lower RPM range and mid-range where this engine is going to operate. This is not going to be a 6,500 or 7,000 RPM motor. Now, the other thing is the installed center line. That's something that basically the engine builder is going to do when he degrees into cam. And I installed this at 101 degrees. Now that's a lot of advance. It's going to make all of the valve events happen earlier in the rotation of the engine. So the intake valve is going to shut earlier. It's going to trap more air. It's going to help cheat that super low compression ratio, again helping torque and power. The last thing about it is this cam has a big split on intake and exhaust duration. I went to the size I wanted on the intake, which was 227. That's a hot street grind. But the 241 on the exhaust is going to extend the RPM range of this cam considerably compared to a single pattern. That's really true on smaller street style cams like this. Once you get into big cams with huge duration, basically you're going to have to start backing that off and widening out the centers and stuff like that. But this, by the numbers, by the Dulcich brain, is the perfect cam for this engine. Well, I'm just going to put this in halfway, and then I'm going to lube the rest of the camshaft from there. I like using the Moly lube. Look, it sticks to your fingers, it's messy, but if you don't want to lose a cam lobe on a new install, this is your best insurance. The Moly lube is far superior to any oil-based lube in my experience. What I've got is a piece of wire here across the rocker pedestals. Now, on the 440 Mopar, that'll hold all your push rods in perfect alignment, so when you lay down the rocker shaft, you don't have to try to wrangle all those push rods into position. So there's a little tech tip for you Mopar guys. Just flip these in position with perfect roll.
That head flared, we'll check.
Okay, here we go. Edelbrock RPM dual plane intake manifold.
We know that works good.
For the record, way better than the standard Performer. Wouldn't have even considered that for this build.
No, you might as well leave it stock cast iron on if you're gonna do that.
Yeah. We're automotive anonymous. We meet together and figure out how we can find new ways to let cars destroy our lives. That's what we do.
Way over. We could write the book.
Yeah. When Steve was talking about this out at the table, he told you he was going to install a Holley XP. I countermanded that. That XP is like my favorite carburetor ever. It's also one of the more expensive carburetors you can buy in a 4150 series. This, however, is the Brawler. And I get people asking me about these all the time because we use them all the time because these are cheap and they always work really good. This one's an 850 double pumper. If I can find bolts, we're gonna have a engine ready to go. All right, let's fire this thing up. I think we're just, Steve and I are too excited to even begin guessing. We got to know.
The next time you get the engine out of a motorhome, could you get the air conditioner too?
It's pretty hot in here. It definitely like that.
Yeah.
It's still not
just about 10.
Still not making 400 horsepower, which is what you wanted.
Yeah, but I mean, it's 7.2 or 7.3 to 1 compression.
Okay, so here's what we're looking at here. We've got the thing finalized. This is the best that we're gonna do with our tune-up. 476.7 pound-feet of torque at 3,500 RPM and 381.7 horsepower at 4,900. And the thing that's interesting about that is that we made a big change in camshaft. It didn't pick up much RPM at all. We went from a torque peak of 3,100 to 3,500. We went from a power peak of 4,400 to 4,900. Actually, the power peak, a difference of 500 RPM, that is actually predictable.
Yeah. I mean, it's, It's like putting a small block Chevy head on a 440-inch motor.
It's a bad
It's going to
head.
limit the engine speed.
And it's still 7.2 to 1 compression. There's just nothing you can do with that. But the big story is going to be, how is this versus stock? Notice how he hasn't even said anything. He's just in depression.
I'm catatonic.
See, here's the thing.
Actually, I'm okay, Freiberger.
This is a perfectly good running engine, but because it didn't make 400, he will take it home and either leave it outside and forget it exists or tear it apart, right?
I won't forget it exists.
You'll tear it apart.
Yeah.
So this is the story that makes this start to look a little bit better when you compare what it was bone stock to what we just did. Boom, there you go. You can see that we actually made some significant improvements here. Obviously the red lines are bone stock, black lines are with the hop-ups.
It made quite a bit more torque.
It did. It's one of those examples that we run into sometimes where putting a bigger cam in actually makes more torque because the stock cam is so
bad.
pathetic.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just, I gotta temper Dulcich's depression over this. I mean, it didn't make 400 horsepower, but if you got this engine for free, like you did, and if you spent about $1,000 hopping it up, like you did, and you're walking away with something that makes 476 pound-feet and almost 400 horsepower, I mean, that is a good drive-around engine. There's nothing wrong with it.
You're the one who's saying I'm depressed. I'm happy. Look at the gains there. That's really good.
You're totally faking it.
That's 16.
You cannot reel in 20 years of friendship and go, no, this is me being happy.
I'm trying to put on a happy face. Let's go out
you
here.
just can't.
Let's go out here and wrap this episode up.
So Dulcich, here's the thing. Over like the past hour, after we've been unhanging this thing and thinking about it, I've had to do some self-realization.
Really?
Yeah, I think there's maybe a chance I've been projecting. What if I'm the one that hates the 440 and you actually think it's pretty good and I was trying to justify?
I think you might have been a little bit.
I think it's possible.
You kept saying, oh, you're so disappointed, and I was perfectly content.
It might have been me who was disappointed.
And right now, my question to you was going to be, tell me why my 440 is great.
Man, you're just gonna have to pull me from the doldrums now?
Yeah. Okay, I'll tell you why my 440 is great.
Okay.
Because this was a completely stock used short block, absolutely, as it came out of a motorhome and thrown in the scrap metal pile at Dirthead Fred's place.
Yep.
And what do? We only took 2 stabs here, a camshaft and an induction system.
On headers.
Well, yeah, headers, but
Yeah, but stock heads.
right.
7.2 to 7.4 to 1-ish compression.
Yeah,
I
and
mean, it's not bad. See, look, I'm coming back up now that I'm realizing
look
it.
at the torque. 476 foot-pounds of torque. You know as well as I do.
We both wanted 400 horsepower
I could
out of it,
pull
is
out-
the truth. But it's only like $1,000 to $1,200 of investment here. And if you had to buy the engine for $500 from somebody, it's still way less than $2,000. It's a great muscle car engine. This thing guaranteed runs 12s, especially in an A body.
Well, yeah, it's got a lot of torque. It doesn't have the RPM and it doesn't have the compression, but I can assure you of one thing. I can pull out my carbides, rework these heads with a little hand porting, and bump up the compression ratio and have a 500 horsepower motor.
Right.
If I wanted to.
See, this is a great baseline. See, this is what this is all about, actually, is that Engine Masters is not so much a show as it is me and my buddies, Dulcich and Brule, getting together and having just automotive therapy. I feel so much more at peace now.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes you just have to get in the right mental frame of mind.
Oh, it's fantastic. The 440 is great.
What were you calling it? Engine Builders Anonymous or?
AA, Automotive Anonymous, where we get together, talk about cars, and talk ourselves into reasons why we've spent our lives spending money on cars and storing parts for good reasons.
Yes.
Yep. That's what we're here to do. We're enablers on every episode of
Engine Masters.
Can you just feel that how much he's struggling to even try and have a smile on his face? He's just literally crushed.
Do you want me to go start taking it apart now?
Yeah, well, that's
So you
what
can
he's
just take it
gonna
home
do.
in pieces?
He might not even take it home. He might just leave it here.
I'm spending another $550 by the time today's over.
Okay, never mind. This whole episode's been a complete waste of time. This is something you don't want to do. You feel better now?
No.